If someone says no, then it will take him out directly.
So it started.
Yeah, it started.
Started, sir.
Yeah, we'll start with the presentation. Okay. Can you see the presentation in full slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in the last class, we were discussing about computer integrated manufacturing and the levels, different levels of automation. That is flexible manufacturing system, programmable automation, and fixed automation. In fixed automation, we had a large number of parts. In flexible, we had intermediate number of parts, and in programmable, it was less number of parts. So today we are going to study about production systems. A production system is a collection of people, equipment, and procedures organized to perform the manufacturing operations of the company. Okay, it consists of two major components. One is the facilities, and the second one is manufacturing support systems. So in the left side of the drawing, you can see there is a facilities where it has manufacturing systems and factory and plant layout. Manufacturing systems means all the machineries will come and the factory will be there, and the plant layout is the layout where all the machineries are going to be put in one single section and the production will start. And then the second is the manufacturing support system, where you have product design, manufacturing planning, manufacturing control, and business functions. These all are supporting, like it is just like a documentation. So all these things are, they come under documentation. So for the facilities, the physical facilities of the production system include the equipment, the way the equipment is laid out, and the factory in which the equipment is located. And then in manufacturing support systems, these are the procedures used by the company to manage production and to solve the technical and logistics problem encountered in ordering materials, moving the work through the factory, and ensuring that the product meets the quality standards. You cannot just produce something and start packing it. You need to have a quality check for that. So that comes under the manufacturing control. Before that, how to manufacture and how much products can be manufactured or how many raw materials can be taken in and out of the factory, this will be decided in the manufacturing planning. Then the product design and certain business functions are included in manufacturing support systems. That is, all the business functions, like if the customer requires something, he will give us the design, then the product design will work for that. Or the company is producing some product and there is a customer who is ready to buy it. It comes under business functions. In the modern manufacturing operations, portions of the production systems are automated or computerized. In addition, production systems include people. People make these systems work. Nothing is automated. You cannot automate anything. You cannot tell the CNC system to directly sit and machine. I want this part in DU machine. You can't do that. There is a input from the person only, that is we call the people, who is going to input the part design on those CNC machine. You cannot just the CNC machine, I have automated everything, you start manufacturing. You can't do that. You are involved in it. The factory person is involved in it, and everyone is involved right from the product design, manufacturing planning, manufacturing control, and business functions. So next is the facilities. The facilities in the production system consists of the factory, production machines, tooling, material handling equipment, inspection. Hello?
Sir, we are unable to hear you, sir.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
So you are audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You are.
Is it audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Sir.
Okay. I guess you have to increase the volume of your device.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The facilities in production system consist of the factory, production machines, tooling, material handling equipment, inspection equipment, and computer systems that control the manufacturing operations. It also includes plant layout, which is the way the equipment is physically arranged in the factory. Now, this line, I'll just highlight it. Okay, I got the highlighter. So this line, the way which the equipment is physically arranged in the factory. So you cannot arrange something in a loop. You have to arrange something in steps. That is, I cannot build a terrace without the first floor. Okay, I cannot build a terrace, or I cannot build a first floor without the ground floor. So you have to go in the sequence only. You cannot go without the sequence. So all the machines which are laid out will be in sequence of operations to be carried out. You cannot have the quality control in the first and then start with your machining, because quality control comes only at the last. The equipment is organized into manufacturing systems, which are logical groupings. The categories of manufacturing systems are, first one, manual work systems, which is here. You can see this. This is a manual work system. Okay, the manual work system, which is one first category. Second one is the worker machine system, and third is a fully automated system. So we'll take part by part. In manual work, what happens is it consists of one or two more workers performing one or two more tasks without the aid of power tools. Power tools means you have different tools where you can use those power tools to ease your work. Instead of using a spanner, you can use an automated nut opener where it will open it for you. Manual material handling tasks are common activities in manual work systems. That is, you have to pick that one part and again carry it to the next machine. You have to do the manual work. Manual material handling tasks are common activities in manual work systems. Production tasks are commonly require the use of hand tools such as screwdrivers and hammers. When using hand tools, a worker or a work holding device is often used by the employee to grasp the work part and position it securely for processing. We call it under jigs and fixtures. Examples of production-related manual tasks involve the use of hand tools, which include a machinist using a file to round the edges, a quality control inspector using a micrometer. You have seen most of the workers on the lathe machine, they normally use micrometer. Even in our college, when we are doing the machine shop, we always use a vernier caliper to just check the diameter, how much we have machined. This comes under the manual work system. Then we have worker machine systems. That is the second one, worker, machine, and the process. In this system, a human worker operates powered equipment such as a machine tool or other production machine. This is one of the most widely used manufacturing systems. If you go to a service station, the person who has to replace the tires or check for the alignment or something, he will not use a spanner. He will use a nut opener machine, which actually is working on air or hydraulic. So it is an automated machine. He just puts it into the wheel, takes out the nut. Whereas here, hand tools was the spanner. Here it is an automated nut opener. Worker machine systems include combination of one or two more workers and one or two more pieces of the equipment. Next, last one is the automated machine, periodic worker attention and process. Now, automated machine means now you have a CNC machine, you have already input the program, other things are done. There what happens is you need to, after machining done by the CNC machine, you need to take out the part. The part cannot be picked by someone else, or the machine will not throw the part outside. You need to pick it up. Sometimes you need to check whether it is machining correctly or not. So we call it as a periodic worker attention. In automated systems, the one which a process is performed by a machine without the direct participation of human worker. Automation is implemented using a program of instructions combined with a control system that executes the instructions. Power is required to drive the process and to operate the program and control systems. So there is not always a clear distinction between worker machine system and automated system, because many worker machine systems operate with some degree of automation. Two levels of automation can be identified: semi-automated and fully automated. So in a semi-automated machine performs a portion of work cycle under some form of program control, and a human worker tends to the machine for the remainder of the cycle. That is, there is some part where the human worker only has to do, that is semi-automated. In fully automatic machine, automated machine, it is distinguished from semi-automated counterpart by its capacity to operate for an extended period of time with no human attention. It is just like you have a mixer and you are churning something into that. You just on it and go. You know that the product is going to come out. Everything is going to happen. So you just leave it. That is fully automated. Of course, a mixer is an automated machine only, and only periodic worker attention is oning and offing the regulator. The example of this type of operation is found in many injection molding parts where the molding machines run on an automatic cycles, but periodically the molded parts at the machine must be collected by the worker, because if lot of parts fall into the crates and if it is filled up, you have to take it out, otherwise it will come in the way of the machine. In certain fully automated processes, one or more workers are required to be present to continuously monitor the operation. That is, for a CNC machine, you always find an operator who is standing in front of that. Though he is not doing anything, but he is still there. And make sure that it performs according to the intended specifications. That is, I have put end milling operation and it has overcut something. So now the part is dead, like you cannot use that part anymore. So you need to have always attention what the machine is doing. Most of the examples for fully automated machines would be your chemical processes, oil refineries, and nuclear power plants. The workers do not actively participate in these processes except to make occasional adjustments in the equipment settings, perform periodic maintenance, and spring into action of if something goes wrong. So next one, manufacturing support systems. So in this, we discuss what the facilities are and manufacturing systems. This will be discussing later. Now we are coming to manufacturing support systems. In manufacturing support system involves a sequence of activities as shown in figure. You can see this figure. Order to be produced, business functions, product design, manufacturing planning, manufacturing control. Here you have a two-way, that is manufacturing control. There is always a feedback and an input. Factory operations and manufacturing control. So starting materials will come here. All the planning which will come, it will come to the factory operations. Whatever has been done to the product will have a feedback and it will go to the manufacturing control, and then the product will go to the customer. So we'll take one by one. Manufacturing support system involves a sequence of activities as shown in the figure, already discussed. It consists of 4 functions that include much information flow and data processing. So this is important. There is always an information flow and data processing. So whatever you're going to produce, I'll just tell you how these things work. First one is a business function. The business functions are the principal teams by means which the company communicates with the customer. Now, if you open a factory and everything you have done, you don't have your customer relation employee. You're just sitting, you will not get any business. You need to advertisement yourself that we are going into this and we produce these certain parts, and we also have this and this properties and characters for all these things. Unless you give out your advertisement, you will not get any product order functions. Or if you are producing something, now in the market, the mobile stand has come. They're just producing. They don't want any advertisement. They're just selling it off. And now they have started with the advertisements. Now they are getting some orders that we want this type of mobile stand with our company name on it. So that is the customer requirement. Otherwise, if there is no name, though these people are going to produce many numbers and just going to sell it off. So it is by which the company communicates with the customer. They are therefore the beginning and the end of the information processing sequence. That is, if there is no company, if there are no customers, then that is the end. If there are customers, that is the beginning. So this includes the sales and marketing, sales forecasting, order entry, and customer billing. The forecasting is very important. If you simply, okay, I'll just tell you one example. There is a company called as Delhi Flour Mills. They produce this the powder required for in the summer season, that with the hot summer in the afternoon, no one is going to buy. You need to forecast it. If you're doing it in the heavy rains, people will come and buy because they want something warm to eat. Getting it? So you need to forecast what is required. You cannot unnecessarily produce something and keep it. You will be at a loss. The order to produce a product typically originates from the customer and proceeds into the company through the sales department or the firm. The production order will be in one of the following forms: an order to manufacture an item to the customer specification. This is first thing. That is, the customer will give you, I want this specification product to be made. Second, the customer order to buy one or more of the manufacturer's proprietary products. If someone is making steering systems, Maruti will contact them and they'll buy the steering systems from them instead of they producing. They will know that, okay, this company is making steering systems for Tata, so we can also buy from them, and they buy it. Now it happened with Fiat. Fiat was producing 1.3 multi-jet engine. So it was bought by Ford people, it was bought by Tata people, it was bought by Maruti people. So that is the company, the Fiat company was selling its product, the engine itself. Then you have an internal company order based on the forecast of future demand for a proprietary product. Internal customer order will be there. So I am manufacturing a car, I would require tires. So I will give a sub order for MRF or Apollo or something. So that I'll be an internal company order base because I need to have that. So what will be the forecast? For one car, they are requiring so much. They are going to produce 100 cars in this month. So how much I will be requiring? 400 tires. So I need to produce and give it to them. Next one is the product design. The product design, it is manufactured to the customer design. The design has been provided by the customer and the manufacturer's product design department is not involved. That is, in product design, we'll come back here. This product design, that is in the manufacturing system, this will not be done by the company because the requirement itself is from the customer. And the manufacturer's product design department will not be involved. If the product is to be produced to the customer specification, the customer will give a specification, I want this and this and this to be in that product. So that time in product design, the product design of the company will come into action. The manufacturer's product design department may not be contracted to do the design work for the product as well as to manufacture it, in case the customer has their own specification. If the product is proprietary, the manufacturing firm is responsible for its development and design, the sequence of events that initiates a new product design, often originating from the sales department. Now the sales department, everyone knows how it works. The direction of information flow is indicated again here. This product design will go into the manufacturing planning. Now how the manufacturing planning takes place? In manufacturing planning also, there are sub plannings, that is the process planning. There is a master production schedule. There is material requirements planning and there is a capacity planning. Now in manufacturing planning, when all these four are there, that is a process planning, master scheduling, master production schedule, material requirements planning and capacity planning. If these four are not there, you cannot run any product into the machineries or any raw material into the machinery, because you don't know how much raw material is required. You just simply get 100 kgs of something and only 50 kgs is consumed. You cannot use those another 50 kgs for some other product because that specification will be different. And from where you have got, they are not going to take it back because it is in a single planned quantity. So for this, all the planning is required. The information and documentation that constitute the product design flows into the manufacturing planning function. The information process activities require all these four process plannings. The first is the process planning. It consists of determining the sequence of individual processing, assembly, operations need to produce the part. Then it is also responsible for planning the processes and related technical details such as tooling, manufacturing planning, logistics, and production. So production will again have two parts. That is the production master production schedule, which is that on the dates which they have to be delivered, the quantities of each. Based on this master schedule, the individual components and sub assemblies that make up to make the product will be scheduled. Raw materials must be purchased, requisitioned from the storage. Parts must be ordered from the suppliers, because you are just having a factory layout. You have the machineries, you need the raw material. You need to get it from the subcontractors who are going to provide you. So if one of the part requirement, raw material requirement has not come, you cannot start with anything, or you can only partly start and keep it like that only. So that all scheduling has to be done, giving a buffer time also. In case if it gets delayed, we have this 3 hours time or 2 weeks time or 2 days time. In this schedule only it will be given. Then you have material requirements planning. In addition to the master production schedule, also you require material requirements planning. Not to list the quantity of products. It is capable of producing each month how much the given number of machines and manpower is having. So material requirement planning, you need to know how much material is required. You cannot over order, you cannot under order. If you under order, your schedule will all get disassembled. Like you have to produce these parts. Only the first and second part is produced. The third part cannot be produced because we don't have the raw material. So the material requirement planning also is very important. The last one, that is the capacity planning. It is concerned with determining the human and equipment resources of the firm and checking to make sure that the production plan is feasible. So in the manufacturing planning, all the four, that is the process planning, the master production schedule, and material requirements planning, they come directly under the capacity planning. So how much capacity do you have to produce certain number of parts? So now if I go with the Toyota Fortuner, everyone knows this car. It has a capacity planning of 1500 cars per month. So I cannot overproduce, I cannot underproduce. Underproduce, it may be because of the machine breakdown, but overproduce is not possible because the capacity of the factory is that much only. That is, not all the 1500 cars can be made in one single go. Maybe 10 cars or 15 cars are made per day. So that is the maximum. You have 3 shifts per day, that is 8 hours per shift. You cannot overlap any shifts because the machine is not free, it is occupied. So maximum 1500 cars I can produce. So that is the maximum capacity of my factory, of the Toyota factory. Next one is the manufacturing control. Now what do we require in manufacturing control? I have put it here in manufacturing control. Shop floor control, inventory control, and quality control. You just cannot go on producing. You need to check the quality also. If I'm producing biscuits, we'll take it as Parle-G or Marie. One is round and one is square. So when I'm producing these biscuits, the edges are getting broken and I'm not checking, I'm just packing it. The people buy it and just see every time I'm getting this type of biscuits, I'm not going to buy. So there will be a reduction in buying. So what will happen? There is no customer requirement. The people are not buying. There is a lot of stock falling into the shops. So the retailers and distributors, it goes backfiring, and finally they have to check what is wrong. So instead of doing all this, if there is a quality check every now and then, within 100 parts, 10 parts are checked. There are a lot of different quality control rules. So if it is a very expensive part, each and every part will be checked. If it is use and throw pen, out of 1,000, 10 are checked. If 10 are correct, they select the entire lot as good quality and just pass it away. If it is an aircraft part, you can't do it with that because people are traveling. It comes with the lives of the people. So different quality controls are there. So first one, we'll go with the shop floor control. It deals with the problem of monitoring the progress of product as it is being processed, assembled, moved, and inspected in the factory. Shop floor control is concerned with inventory in the sense that materials being processed in the factory are work in process inventory. That is, it is going from machine to machine in the sense that the materials being processed in the factory are work in process inventory. Thus, shop floor control and inventory control overlap to some extent. So in this, we'll go in the second one, inventory control. It attempts to strike a proper balance between the risk of too little inventory, that is, we go stock out of the material, and carrying the cost of too much inventory, that is, I have overstocked a lot of things. Now during this COVID-19 also, we are stocking a lot of things. Once you go out in a week's, if you want to buy vegetables from the market, you will bring for a week. You will not bring every day. So sometimes leafy vegetables, they rot. It is like you have invested and the investment is gone because they have rotten and you have to throw it out. That is sometimes called as overstocking. Understocking means you have bought only little and you have used it up, again you have to go out. For that, again you are going to spend either through your vehicle or you have to walk or whatever it is. It is going to be understocking. So it is always too little risk and too more risk. Both are going to be in inventory control. Then the function of quality control is to ensure that the quality of the product and its component meet the standards. Now the standards may be set by the customer or the standards which we follow as sometimes called as ISO standards. It might be specified by the product designer or it might be specified by the customer himself. To accomplish its mission, quality control depends on inspection activities performed in the factory at various times. It is not that every time you go and put the vernier caliper in a CNC machine and keep checking the diameter. No, you cannot do that. There will be a certain period and time limit for where to check and how to check those qualities of what the product is being produced. Okay. So this is manufacturing support systems. So don't get confused between manufacturing planning and manufacturing control. It is manufacturing support system. So what we studied is business functions, product design, manufacturing planning, and manufacturing control. So to make a product, you require all these supports. Without these supports, you cannot just produce. I am the owner, I can do anything. I have a CNC machine and I can go and start making a product. No, it cannot be done like that. You need all these functions. Business functions is very important. Otherwise, you need to advertise your product that you are selling this, or tell the customers that you have these machines and you can do all these things. You can make a catalog of what you can do in your factory. Then the product design will be there. How good the product design itself is one of the major components, because how well you design that product in the shortest period of time without any errors, and how much you can make changes depending on the customer requirement. The customer requirement will never stop. He will go on changing, and at some point of time he is satisfied with the product design, and then it's be sent to manufacturing planning. And then manufacturing control. and the factory operations. There are all single arrows here, and there is only a feedback here because you need to control what all operations are happening. And then finally the product is going to be customer. Any questions still here?
No, sir.
Okay. Next is automation in production systems. So you can see initially you saw this production systems. Okay. Now I am adding automated production systems. This same drawing is being there. Okay. It is the same drawing. Only thing is this automation is added to the manufacturing systems and computerization is added to manufacturing planning. Now in manufacturing planning, what you had process planning, master production schedule, material requirements planning, and capacity planning. So all these things were there in manufacturing planning. This plus product design, this you are going to do in on all the softwares called as CATIA, that this lot of things are there. There are many softwares available. Manufacturing control, that is the shop floor and inventory control. This also you can do through computerization and business functions. Emails, WhatsApp, you have some other this one ERP softwares of even managing the people. We have biometric, we are taking your attendance automatically. So I am in a semi-automation mode of in the Google Meet. So in the automation in production systems, that is, I need to automate certain things at manufacturing systems. Factory and plant layout, you cannot automate because it is a fixed thing. So there are two categories: automation of manufacturing systems in a factory and computerization of manufacturing support systems. So the components of the firm's production systems are likely to be automated, whereas others will be operated manually or clerically. Clerical is something related here. Okay. The automated elements of the production systems can be separated into two categories. That is automation in manufacturing systems in a factory and computerization. So this one and this one. The two categories are closely related because the automated manufacturing systems on the factory floor are themselves usually implemented by computer systems. Understood? That is, the factory floor are themselves usually implemented by computer. Means whatever is happening on the shop floor and the factory layout, everything is computerized. Most of the things. The number of machines, how many people are there at the machines, what is happening, is everything is taken care by the computer itself. But there will be a human intervention to make that software and put it into the system so that I can collect all the information without going into the shop floor. I'm sitting at one place. I want to check how many people are working. I want to check how many machines are on. I want to check how much is the material stock. I want to check everything what is happening on the shop floor. I can sit in my AC office and check everything. That comes as a part of semi-automation and computerization. The automated manufacturing systems on the factory floor are themselves usually implemented by computer systems that are integrated with the manufacturing support systems. Okay, this entire manufacturing support systems and management information systems operating at the plant and enterprise levels. Now we have DHI. Initially we had Contino. What we are doing is we are collecting all the information of yours into at one place. Imagine there are 6 subjects, 6 staff. Each one is going to write your marks, everything, and finally again on a single sheet, I'm going to enter all the marks from each of the subjects and put it on the notice board. This will be too cumbersome for me. So what we had an ERP software. Whatever we update, it will go get updated in a single server system, and you can check it directly on your fingertips. Otherwise, what you have to do, you have to come to college, check on the notice board. Okay, your marks are so and so. Again, go back. If there is some problem, you contact me, and then I contact the staff, and then all the things will take place. Again, I have to update it manually. Again, come and stick it onto the notice board. So there was no automation at all. Now we are in a automatic marks collection software, that is the ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. So all these things come into the computerization of manufacturing support systems. Any doubts still here?
No, sir.
Anyone else who wants to ask any questions? Only the CR is replying. Okay. Next comes is the automation principles and strategies. A certain caution and respect must be observed in applying the automation technologies. We call it as a USA principle. USA stands for understand, simplify, and automate. So, understand the existing process, simplify the process, and automate the process. Now, without understanding what process is happening in the factory shop floor, you say, I just want to automate everything. You can't do that. You will either be under a loss or it may not work properly for certain issues. So the USA principle is a common sense approach to automation and process improvement projects. What does USA stand for is captivating the title itself. It is understand, simplify, and automate. That is, understand the existing process, simplify the process, and automate the process. So the first step in USA is to comprehend the current process in all of its details. What are the inputs? What are the outputs? What exactly happens to the work unit between input and output? What is the function of the process? How does it how does it give an added value if I automate? What are the upstream and downstream operations in the production sequence? Can they be combined with the process under consideration? So some of the traditional industries engineering charting tools used in methods analysis are useful in this regard, such as operation chart, the flow process chart. Application of these tools to the existing provides a model of process that can be analyzed and search for weakness. Okay, if there is a weakness in transferring from one machinery to the other machinery where there is a 100-meter distance, instead of putting a human worker, I'll put an AGV. So from AGV is automated guided vehicle. So what I'll do, the part which is finished from the machine one, I'll just keep it on the AGV. It will directly go and there is also limit for AGVs. The weight itself will be the problem. Sometimes more than 1000 kgs it cannot carry. So I will program it that if I keep 10 parts, it will automatically start moving to the second machinery. So that I can go for. Only intermediate automation I can go for. That is search for weakness, and strength also you need to search. The number of steps in the process, the number of placements of inspection, the number of moves and delays experienced by the work unit, the time spent in the storage, the time spent between two machineries. You know that the workers, when they're talking to each other, they have something on the hand. I don't want to tell that what is it. You know it better. So they keep talking. There is a delay in the process. So you cannot have a barricade in between, opaque barricade where these two people can't talk, because they have to have some communication from one process to the other. You can't completely isolate them and say you do this and then give it to him. You can't do that. Mathematical models of the process may also be useful to indicate relationships between input parameters and output variables. What are the important output variables? How are these output variables affected by inputs? What are how are these output variables affected by inputs to the process, such as raw material, properties, process settings, operating parameters, environmental conditions? This information may be valuable in identifying what output variables need to be measured for feedback purposes and in formulating algorithms for automatic process control. Then you have simplify the process. That is the second step. Once the existing process is understood, then search for the way to simplify it. This often involves checklist of questions about the existing process. What is the process? What is the purpose of this step or the transport? Is it necessary? Can it be eliminated? Does it use the most appropriate technology? How can it be simplified? Are there unnecessary steps in the process that might be eliminated without detracting from the function? Now, what we have done in Google Classroom is, I have our module coordinator has directly put the link into that. He has put the link till all the 52 classes get over. So he will not again go on creating. So it will directly send a message to you that so and so is thing. What is happening is you have seen all the divisional groups. Each and every now and then we are just putting one link message. So to automate it, we came up with this Google Classroom. The moment you join Google Classroom, you will start getting emails that the class is there at 10 on Friday. Monday at 12 o'clock, the class is there. It gives you the information 10 minutes before. Or if I want half an hour, I can set it to half an hour. So if I don't do this, every now and then I need to put the messages in the group. So there is a lot of confusion going on which group to join, what, when, and why. So if you are in the classroom, directly you can join because it will directly send you a mail to join the link. The link is also sent automatically. I don't have to create one and send you. So we want to automate and we automated it by the Google Classroom. If not, every now and then I have to send you the link. Either okay, Google Meet is not working, I'll go to the Cisco is not working, I'll go to the Zoom. Every now and then if I sit and change the platforms, it will be very cumbersome for you and it will be cumbersome for me every now and then. So what we did, we automated to the Google Meet itself. The last step is automate the process. Once the process has been reduced to its simplest form, then automation can be considered. The possible forms of automation include those listed in 10 strategies. The strategies are here. We will discuss the strategies in the next class. I guess the time is up. It is already 10:48. We'll stop the session here. We'll meet on Monday. And all of you, those who have not joined Google Classroom, please join so that we don't have to send the links every now and then into your what we say it as the groups. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
बस हम्म, क्या हुआ मैं ऐशास पठान